Well, it's Saturday afternoon. It's the calm before the storm, if you will. The winter storm coming here Saturday late evening here. So in a few hours from now is when the weather's supposed to start picking up here. We're going to start getting some snow. There's going to be snow. There's going to be mixed with freezing rain, sleet, ice, that kind of stuff between Saturday night, all day Sunday, and into very early on Monday. So they're calling, I think, for like 6 to 12 inches of snow and then a quarter to a half inch of ice towards the second half of the storm. And that could be pretty damaging. So that could have widespread power outages. That kind of ice, those kind of power outages that you could be without electricity for 4 or 5, maybe even as much as 7 days, like a whole week, right? Possibly more. So I thought it would be good in this video. This is my video I'm putting out for Monday, which might be the only video I get for the next 4, 5, 6 days or so that I might not have power. So I thought it'd be a good idea to put this video out and kind of talk a little bit about what I am doing from a carnivore standpoint to kind of prepare for this storm and the potential that I might not have electricity for several days and so forth. Uh, so anyway, Saturday is kind of a day for getting prepared. Things outside of thinking like carnivore, I've done a lot of preparation with already. But let me walk you through some things I've done here in terms of carnivore. Because think about it, when you're carnivore, you're eating a lot of meat, but you might not have access to cook. Yes, you could grill outside if you have a gas grill, propane, whatever wood burning of some sort that you can cook outside, or like a fire pit. I have a fire pit. You could literally start a fire in that fire pit outside, and if you had some like camping cooking utensils, you could cook with that or something. But we're talking up to possibly a foot of snow, sleet, ice, freezing rain, stuff like that. Very cold temperatures too. So cooking outside is probably not a good idea. Um, might not want to do that. You might not have the ability to do that. And so, what can you do to prepare yourself if you typically eat meat that you cook when you're ready to eat, but you might not have the ability to cook anything, right? Like you could lose power. And if you don't have a generator that's going to hook up to your house or whatever, you don't have a way to have electricity. So, this is what I've done so far. I cooked up 2 pounds of bacon and I just put it in this little Tupperware here for you to kind of see just how much is there. So there's 2 pounds of bacon here. I'm going to divvy this up into some individual packages, but I'm going to have that as something good that's already cooked that I can eat at whatever time if I get hungry, right? Um, Hot dogs aren't maybe necessarily the cleanest in the world. They're okay. I get ones from Costco. They're the quarter pound all beef hot dogs. Um, they're they're not bad. They're not the cleanest, but they're not that bad. And you know they're fully cooked, so you don't really have to do anything to cook them. You could eat them cold. But what I like to do is actually have them grilled or something. So I'm gonna actually put these on the air fryer here in a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna probably show the picture here in this video when I edit this up, and I'm gonna have some hot dogs that are gonna be already air fried, grilled, that type of thing. So they kind of have that kind of a taste. So even if I don't have a good way to warm them up, they're going to be nice and good. Even though they're cold, they're going to have that nice taste. Of course, if you have a fireplace in your house and you're using that with no electricity, you could always put the hot dogs to warm them up just above the fireplace there, and you can warm them up that way, so you could still eat them kind of warm. But that's just another option. So those are a couple of different options that I have. Now, you might say, well, why don't you just fast? And that's great. Some people might not be able to do a really good job of fasting, though. Let's say 24 hours, 48 hours is kind of like their max. And I've never gone past 72 hours myself. If we really lose electricity for 4, 5, 6, even 7 days or so, You need to have some options beyond just fasting. Now, that said, here's something to think about with fasting, and here's something that I am prepared for, and that is electrolytes. When you do fast, especially if it's over a longer period of time, you need to make sure that you're paying attention to your electrolytes because you're not eating anything, so you're not adding any minerals really into your body, right? You're not feeding those or refilling those electrolytes, and you're going to the bathroom, you're peeing, and you're peeing those electrolytes out. So over time, and then you might just drink water, and you're just drinking plain water, and you're flushing out more electrolytes that way, right? So over time, you could lose that. So you want to be prepared for electrolytes. You don't want to get to the point that you're a couple days into fasting because your electrolytes have been out and you just decide I was going to fast. And now you feel horrible because your electrolytes are getting out of whack. So make sure that you have at least a couple of electrolyte packets that you can use to mix in water, keep your electrolytes going. Or at the very least, what I would do would be to have a good high quality salt. Like I use Redmond salt, and I'll take a pinch, put it under my tongue, I should say, let it melt there for a few seconds, and then drink some water down. And do that maybe a couple times in a day, just to make sure that you're kind of keeping your electrolytes in balance, because that can be an issue, is your electrolytes. So that's something you got to consider there. So that's something I do as well. Okay. Another thing you got to think about, you could be without electricity for a long time. What does that do for meat that you might have in the freezer and so forth? Because you probably have a lot of meat if you're like me and you're a carnivore. One thing you can do, first of all, I do have a fridge freezer in my garage that is not heated and insulated, and it gets pretty cold there. So I'm not concerned really about that fridge freezer. The freezer section there, it'll pretty much stay cold. You can check it just to make sure that it's good. But when the temperature's gonna be like 20 degrees, it should be fine. That food should not freeze. But what about that food should stay frozen? I should say, it should not melt, defrost, whatever. But what about the food in your house, in your fridge and freezer? If you're worried about having the electricity off for several days, not having generator or anything to keep it cool, one thing you can do is have a cooler and get that cooler ready. You don't have to have anything in it yet, but just have it ready in case you get to that point. And if you get to that point where you're noticing your electricity has been out and your freezer is starting to maybe thaw the food in it a little bit, go ahead, put some snow in that cooler and put the meat in the cooler. And then you can even set that cooler outside in the snow right outside your door, and it'll keep that food cool. It'll keep it nice and frozen, and you'll be okay there. So that's just another thing you can do there. And in terms for me, like we have a well, so we have a pump for the well, right? So water has to get pumped into the house. So I don't have city water. So if we lose electricity and I don't have any way to hook up generator or anything like that, we'll just say, then I need to have water available because I can't run my water, right? Like it just won't work. You really don't want to get to some point that you use up the little bit of water that is currently in your pump, because then that causes a bigger issue. But once you've used that up anyway, you wouldn't have any because you can't pump anything out of the well. So I like to take bottles of water and fill them up with the water from the sink a day or two ahead of time and have it in the fridge so it's nice and cool. Like the rest of my family does not do carnivore, but they'll drink a lot of bottled water, even though I just drink the water from here. But I'll take that bottled water once they've drank the bottles. Then I'll put water from my sink, directly from the sink or from the fridge or whatever, and fill that water bottle up, and then I'll have that. So I'll have plenty of water stored ahead of time for myself. I'll also have a couple of buckets of water, and you can even fill your bathtub up with water. And that way you can flush your toilets. So you can use the buckets to flush your toilets, that kind of stuff, because you can't flush a toilet if you lose your electricity and you don't have the water. So that's what you can do there to flush your toilets during a power outage. So those are a lot of different things that I've done here so far. The bacon and the hot dogs are good things to have. Soup is something good. So you can do, like, I've got my recipe book thing that I have online where it has a few different soups in there. There's like a chili, there's a couple different soups. Um, you could do that. My son requested French onion soup, and I have a fairly low carb French onion soup recipe that I use. So we're doing that today, and then we'll have leftover soup, and it may end up being cold, but it's basically a lot of beef bone broth, so that's a good thing to have, and a good thing to drink up, if you need to eat something. So that's another thing that you can do. Um, Also, there is the stuff that is um, it's a gelatin powder, and it basically is a lot of collagen, beef collagen to it. And I keep a package of that, and that's something that you can drink. You can mix it with cold water, even, and a little bit of salt, maybe some like Redmond's real salt, and drink it. And that can be a good pick me up. Like if it's been a little bit, and maybe you are kind of fasting, but you need a little bit something because it's been a while, and it's cold. You just don't feel very good and all that kind of stuff. It's cold in your house. Don't have heat running, that kind of stuff. Maybe that's something you can do. So that's something that I always have prepared for myself as well. And those are the basics, I guess. I'm going to make sure I talked about the soup that we're going to have today. I make sure that I have a really good meal today. Could be my last warm cooked meal for a few days. So I got a pound and a half of ground beef that I made into two burger patties here. You see the pictures. I'm going to eat that here, and we're going to see how things go here. If things don't end up being that bad and we don't lose power, or we only lose it for a short time, that is great. And you'll probably see more videos coming out for me again after this. Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday evening would be a live stream with Johnny that we always do. But if we do lose power for multiple days, I might not have power back. So you might not see any videos from me for a little while. I might not be available for the live stream with Johnny. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Anybody that's in the path of this storm, though, stay safe out there, and hopefully things work out well for you. And I hope that I can talk to you again soon with another video.